Kies, knowing that you're going to carry out, but also you'll have some influence on the practicality of carrying out. Senator Hassan and I have just introduced the Red Tape Reduction Act. And what this addresses is that in 2021, with the passage of the American Rescue Plan, the threshold to receive information regarding on the 1099-K was reduced from $20K to $600 on a single transaction. Now, practically, that seems difficult to, and it's affecting my constituents. It affects everybody's constituents. So can you give, when you're giving best advice on the practicality of executing the law, would you agree, and I'm begging the answer, as you speak to whomever you're speaking to, that this one's not very practical and perhaps we should increase that threshold?
Clearly, events have demonstrated that that particular change has been very difficult for people to handle and is of questionable judgment. So it's definitely something that needs to be rethought. So I would commend both you and your colleague for raising the issue and saying that's something we need to turn our attention to.
Yeah. Knowing again that you will have some input on policy, even though ultimately you are the executioner, so to speak. The U.S. fiscal policy, right now, it is estimated that we'll get to 106% of debt to GDP ratio, which is our historic high. We'll get to that point in 2027. If you just look at, we've got 36 trillion in debt now, we're going to add another 21 trillion just on autopilot. And if we're not careful, we'll add another 10 trillion on top of that. You've thought a lot about this. Others say that's not sustainable. What are your thoughts about that?
Clearly, the level of debt we have is extremely troubling, and it raises significant questions about sustainability on a long-term basis, particularly when you look at the entitlement programs, which are facing significant challenges in the near future, both Medicare and Social Security. So Congress needs
By challenges, you mean the trust funds, just to elucidate. The challenges are that the trust funds are going insolvent, at which point, by law, those benefits will be cut by roughly 20 to 25%.
In the case of the Social Security Trust Fund, I think the current projection is that the trust fund goes insolvent in 2033, at which point incoming taxes will be the only resources available to pay benefits, which would be roughly in the 70–75% range. Yes, that is a significant concern, and not just for me, but for her, my granddaughter.
No, your granddaughter is going to pay the bill. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, yeah,
she should be complaining right now, so yeah. I'm glad that she's talking up. So that's perfect.
She seems to be okay with it right now, but I don't think she will be later.
Mr. Kimmit, I'll accept that you accept that this is unsustainable and that we need to do something about it. We should do something about it sooner, not later. Again, in your advisory position on policy. Is that a fair summary of what you would say?
I think he was referring to me.
I'm sorry, Mr. Kies.
No, it's perfectly okay. Yeah, I think I am an advisor. I'm not a policymaker, but clearly I will be part of the process of advising on issues like this. And I don't think any person can look at the picture ahead and not see that there are some significant challenges that need to be addressed sooner rather than later.
Mr. Kimmit, turns out we have some mutual friends, and so anyway, I pass on their hellos. Won't influence my vote. It was already a yes, because in an interview you came across extremely well. But let me speak. When the president announced his tariffs, he spoke about other countries producing in a dirty fashion, if you will, offshoring their pollution, but onshoring the decreased manufacturing costs to our disadvantage, if you follow what I just said. Now, we have something we call the foreign pollution fee, which I'll also point out that the American First Policy Institute now supports, in which we would put a fee on goods coming from other countries roughly equal to what they're not paying to control their air pollution, but that which we do pay. And this is a pro-manufacturing. We just updated the foreign pollution fee legislation, assigning key roles to the departments under your jurisdiction, specifically enforcement compliance. So let me just ask, again, begging an answer, do you support incorporating pollution intensity or carbon benchmarking into a trade enforcement as a tool to counter unfair trade practices by non-market economies, particularly in high-emission sectors like steel, cement, and aluminum, where these foreign polluters are using the lack of compliance with environmental laws to undercut cleaner U.S. producers?
Thank you for the question, Senator, and I enjoyed our meeting as well and enjoyed discussing this with you. And I believe certainly that the President has mentioned that low environmental regulations in other markets are a non-tariff barrier, and certainly I see it as a trade issue in the role for which I've been nominated, and certainly leveling the playing field so that other countries that don't meet the high standards of the United States don't gain an unfair advantage, and then of course, related environmental benefits.